Coming to you live from the Pensado Theater at the all-new SAE Los Angeles campus. Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid, and The Recording Connection.
Sports meets audio meets inspiration. The result, a bona fide hitmaker. You'll meet and hear his story today. All new ITL from the Master Blaster over here. Lots of questions in the corner office. JD, hit the ignition switch, stomp on the gas. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Hey guys, thanks for coming and hanging out with us today. You're gonna have a blast. Someone that I really respect and admire. Not you, Herb.
No.
Our guest is somebody I've been wanting to meet for a long time. What's up, partner?
I'm good. We have stalked this guest for the better part of a year. I'm surprised he's not mad at us. Should we get to it?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Hey there, boys and girls. Time for our weekly waltz through audio land. Let's all join hands, stay in a straight line. Nobody wander, please. No strays. I'm in a silly mood. So, we're somewhere north of 115,000 subscribers. Wow. Awesome job you're doing. Huge, absolutely huge in our constant battle to keep this show free for you. Thank you so much. Keep it up. Thank yourselves. If you can, and if you would, keep subscribing. It's very, very important.
Very important.
Of course, the other part of the equation is our awesome family of partners. Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Avid, Recording Connection, and Studio 202 DC. Amazing companies, all dedicated, all diligent. Supporting them is good, not just for us, but also for you as well, too. Yeah. Please do. Couple quick notes. Open house at Blackbird this weekend in Nashville. July class still open. This means you internationally come and join. Hit Karma. You know where to hit her. Karma at theblackbirdacademy.com. Tell her Dave and Herb sent you. Isotope readying some new initiatives. Dave and I took to them this week. We'll shape those up in a couple of weeks and then announce them and share with you. There's an announcement of a certain award show coming, something we're involved. What's the name of it? Do you remember the name of it?
Award show?
Oh, probably not. Probably not. So
I had trouble pronouncing that.
I know it is complicated. No, it's got a Spanish derivative.
Yeah. El Awardo de Pensado.
Okay, very good. So we've been hard at work preparing PA number 2. Stay tuned in a couple weeks. It's going to be a good one.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll announce
I say that a lot on the show lately, but I can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be a good thing.
So much fun.
Now let's check on Corner Office. Of course, the host goes by the name. There he is. Chauncey, how you doing? We got questions in Corner Office?
We got some really great questions on Corner Office.
Is that what's up on the monitor there?
Yeah, this is one of them. We got plenty of them more.
All right, good. You got your snappy plaid shirt on and stuff?
I have to.
All right, you stepping up your game?
I have to.
Okay, you going to the gym later?
Yeah, I am. Are
okay.
you?
Yeah, I am. Damn you. Now we got a brand new ITL from DP, our Master Blaster. What's the name of the ITL, sir?
You know what? As always, I was messing around doing a mix, and I really liked what I did on this one hi-hat, so I'm sharing that with you.
Cool.
Wait a minute. Hi-hats can be sexy.
I agree. You have a high hat. Let's roll it.
Okay, guys, I want to show you something today. I was looking for something to show you, and I ran across this Jill Scott song. You're going to get a couple of examples from this. I heard the hi-hat sound, and I wanted it to have a little character, and I inherited the hi-hat within a loop, which is great. So check, and I also have like a different part of the loop. Well, it's not really a loop. I guess it's a live track. Let me call it that, just to be fair. But I didn't want all the extra stuff to confuse my drum sounds. So here's the hi-hat as I was given it. I didn't need all that stuff, so I did this. Now I did this. And then I liked it now that it was a little bit isolated. And this is one of my favorite plugins. Cole uses this a lot, my assistant, and I've grown to love it. Now, I'm not really sure what it's doing. What do they call it over here? Harshness control. And that's kind of what it does. I've got a bit of dampening, compression. I've got some saturation. I can mix. I can increase the presence. I can do all sorts of stuff down here. I haven't mastered this part yet. So let me exaggerate the presence. Take it out. Exaggerate the mix and the presence and the saturation without it. You can see you get a lot of damn options with this thing, and it's not really an EQ as much as it is. It just makes it sit in the track. So, just want to show you that. And this is with UAD, Brainworks. And I don't know why, but when I added this de-esser, it just felt, listen. Okay, without everything. In the track. Ooh, doggies. Man, it just becomes musical, doesn't it? And when you hear it without all that stuff on it, you're like, but when you hear it with it, it just sets the groove. It just gives an anchor for the groove. So, what have we learned? Isolate the part of the sound you really want. Refinement is something you need to master. It's a great, great tool. I use it on overheads. I use it on a lot of stuff. I have no idea why I use this, but it seemed to work. So experiment with your own. And then this guy is just another tightening up of everything once I get these guys going. It was just a little too much, and so I tightened in the range where even a little more with this guy here. So check it out, my friends. Adios.
Literally about a year ago, we came after this guest for a number of reasons. There's some heritage stuff here, incredibly gifted talent. We got a wonderful story to share with you. DJ Khalil, welcome, man. Long time.
Thank you so much.
Long time.
Thank
Long
you
time.
What's up, partner?
What you got for him, Dave?
Oh, man. You sit in a pretty unique space because you've done so many things over a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. And how does production, from your perspective, differ today than it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
I mean, the technology, for one. The technology's improved. I mean, you can do everything in your laptop, and and just the software, the amount of, because I started with the ASR 10. Now I'm doing everything in from Reason to Ableton. I went from Reason, now I'm on Ableton. Mm-hmm. But before I had MIDI, I was layering, and that's my thing, is tweaking synths and creating sounds. That's really my specialty is sound design. So now that I have Ableton, I have all this software, I can layer strings with a synthesizer, I can do all these things because I'm into prog rock. That's my favorite genre of music is listening to prog. Yeah, it's a big influence on what I do. Early Genesis, yes.
Oh, love that stuff.
Eloy, Gentle Giant, all that stuff. So
I haven't heard that name in a while.
yeah. So
I have a weed story about Yes.
Oh, really?
I'll share with you. Can I do 2 seconds?
Yeah.
All right, so it's finals. I'm in college. I have a 45 playing of Roundabout from Yes.
Yeah.
It gets stuck in a scratch where you can't tell it's a scratch. And I was under diminished capacity for some reason studying a final. And that 45 played for 17 minutes before I realized it was just stuck. I was like, anyway, sorry to interrupt. So
I love that song though.
yeah, it was a great record, right?
But yeah, the technology allows you to layer all these different sounds and combine all these things, and then to be able to use like guitar rig on vocals, or any all these different, you just have all these different avenues of sound now. So sonically, you pretty much, if you hear it, you can pretty much mimic it.
How do you compose? Is it keyboard? Is there what?
Yeah, it's keyboard. I play. I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I definitely, I can hear and I play by ear.
Okay.
But I work with a lot of incredible musicians.
Got it.
So that, I have a huge team of, several keyboard players, several guitar, bass players, and I have people that I've collaborated with for a long time.
So along that line, would your advice be to our audience? Let's say you're not the most musical person, but you still have to pay homage to the music.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have it, you got to find somebody, bring them in, find that team that understands. Because I think a lot of people think they can cut that corner and just use technology, and that's not true, is it?
No, I really think because, I start off sampling records, and what you're sampling musicians that have gotten in a room and actually created something. So my thing is, I try to find the best musicians possible. And I feel like I have a musical ear just from a DJ, because I started off DJing, so I have a musical ear just to be able to bring in all these different people and to have the right instruments for them to play and different sounds, and to even feed them vibes like, listen to this record, let's see if we can come up with a vibe like this. I love the changes, I love the chord progressions, all those different things. So, having musicians is everything for me. Even from the beginning, I had a group called Self Scientific. We're an independent group.
And you were actually a performer.
Yeah, I was a performer. Yeah, I was a DJ. So it was like kind of like Gangstar, P-Rock CL Smooth, like a DJ, MC. So Chase, I produced. We did 2 records together, and I combined like my samples, chopping samples with the musicianship on top. So I have bass players, guitar players. I work with Stefan Harris. He played vibraphone. Gretchen Parlato sang on one of our songs. So I combine all these different types of musicians to create our sound, and I feel like that's kind of evolved into where my career is taking me.
Gotcha.
Khalil, this would be a good time to break a song down, because I think we can illustrate some of the things you're saying. On the Clip song, Kind of Big Deal with Kanye.
Yeah.
When you started that song, you started it around a guitar part.
Yeah.
And your partner just went in and kind of jammed a little bit.
Yeah.
That was the first thing you heard, was that guitar part, and you made a big record out of that.
Yeah.
Take me through that process, how you chopped up the guitar. I want our audience to know that.
Yeah.
It's a great illustration of what you and Herb are talking about.
Yeah, basically Chin and Jetty, my production partner, he's from Canada, he lives in Vancouver.
Say that again?
Chin and Jetty.
He's from where?
He's from Vancouver.
Canada?
Canada, yes.
Nice.
And he's an incredible guitar player. So, he kind of put me on the guitar rig. I started using guitar rig, and I started making my own patches in it, and, my own chains, as you will. And I feel like, when he started playing, he would play these incredible riffs, and we were both into the meters. Like, we were huge into the meters, and so I was like, let's do something like that. Let's try to mimic those sounds. We didn't quite hit it, but it became a sound that
close.
Yeah, we got it
that
close.
Little wah-wah part.
Yeah, exactly. So,
let me stop, because some of our audience was like an embryo when the meters were out.
Yeah.
Explain about the meters, because they were so influential, and this would be. I hijack the show, but sometimes you cats are coming along that are trying to study and learn from Khalil. Sometimes it's good to go another generation back and go to his influences. So listen to this about the meters.
Yeah, the meters, they're from New Orleans. They're kind of like a funk. I guess we would call it funk, but it's basically, to me, what hip hop is based off of, which is drums and bass lines and guitar. So you have those elements, and the drums are really big. We never really heard records, with drums other than James Brown.
Yeah,
like to
that's
me,
true.
James Brown, the meters are kind of like the basis for hip hop. That's why it became such an over-sampled, group, as well as James Brown. I mean, you would hear all that stuff. You go back to the 90s, that's all you hear, the meters and James Brown, and even late 80s. So we come from that era. I mean, I grew up, listening to that and listening to groups that sampled them. So that was like a big thing to try to recreate that, because I spent the first part of my career sampling records, but to be able to recreate it with the software now is incredible. So for Chin to sit there and he really knows that, he knows blues, he knows all these different things, to recreate, this classic band, you know what I mean, from New Orleans we've heard, I've heard DJs play it in their sets, playing breaks and all that stuff. You could actually go back and forth when you're DJing. So so that was just a big part of like that production for kind of like a big deal. Was he just sat there and he played these riffs, and then I just chopped it up in Recycle, imported it into Reason, used the NXT, and then I just kind of triggered, I put a beat up and I put like a percussion loop, and then I just started playing the sound to the drums, and it just kind of came together, And
it wasn't that simple.
Yeah.
Nice try, buddy.
Yeah.
Some of the on the way to getting it chopped up into Reason, that was really creative. I mean, I was like going, oh man, this is amazing. And the percussion was more than just percussion. It was live percussion, but it was a loop, right?
It was a loop, yeah.
Okay. Where do you get your loops? Is that something you can share with us, or am I going to have to beat it out of you?
I mean, I get loops from just swapping sounds with different people, because with Reason you have refills, you have and the cool thing about those is that you can find another Reason user, and trade sounds. So it was just in a pack and a refill that I had, and I started using it, and then I just kind of programmed lightly on top of it just to give it more movement, and then put the drums on top of that.
Everybody in the free world wants to know, and I think I know, what was that scream sound?
That's actually Chin playing the guitar. Like,
what?
Everybody thought it was him screaming, but it's actually a guitar sound going through Guitar Rig, and I made
that makes
a
a
patch.
song, man.
Yeah.
That's
Everybody thought it was him screaming, or they thought it was a sample, but it was actually just Chin playing a guitar. And
but what'd you add to it? You had like a bunch of reverb and
reverb. There's a twang reverb. There's like a twang reverb, a distortion. So it was like the chain. I can't remember off top, but
this was in Guitar Rig?
In Guitar Rig, yeah. So it's the twang reverb, and then it has a setting. You can just turn it up. So I turned it up to probably like 8. So it has like this kind of spring vibe to it, and then you add a compressor under that, and which kind of brings that tail out on the reverb. So that was like the big thing. Is just I wanted it to sound dirty and gritty and.
Well, it's hooky.
Yeah,
but not as hooky as the bass.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that bass line? That
was Chin. That was Chin. Chin plays guitar and bass.
And classic. The bass line's a record in itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just following the guitar line, really. So which is kind of based on the meters, because they, that's kind of what they would do is like the guitar and the bass kind of did the same thing.
So you got this track. A lot of people out there do tracks, but they don't know how to go to the next step. Now, obviously, you got a great manager, and shout out to him. But normally, when you first started, and you were in that position, you got this great track. How do you get it to people? What's the process? You stalk them until they like
we stalked you.
Well, my experience has been I worked a lot. Like I made a lot of beats, and just your reputation. After a while, you start gaining a reputation, and when I started, even working for Dre,
I got a reputation for not having very good beats. Right. Give me another way.
But it's having a manager. My manager, Greg Johnson. He reaches out.
Greg.
Yeah.
Manager shout out, man.
And he made a lot of connections, and obviously through the work that I've done, up to that point, helped, just to get into different circles. And he got in touch with Stephen Victor, who was managing the Clips at the time. And Stephen brought them by my studio. And the funny story is actually it was just Pusha T. and Pusher was tired. I guess he probably had a session or something earlier before. So I'm playing beats and he's falling asleep, and I'm thinking like, this is not going very well. But that beat comes on and he wakes up.
It's straight up.
And he's sitting in front of the screens right here, and he's looking at the screen. He just starts rapping to himself. And then he looks at Stephen Victor. He's like, yo, this is crazy. So he was like, yo, give me that beat, give me that beat. So then like 2 months later, they come back with the song, and then I would say they come back another time, and Kanye is on it. So they play it for me, and I'm like tripping because that's the first thing I've ever done with Kanye on it. Right. So and it was just, and it was it was amazing. And I love Pharrell. The Pharrell and Clips combination is, to me, that's where it started.
Pharrell and any combination.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So to be able to do something with them, you know what I mean? Knowing that they're kind of breaking away from that traditional sound that they started, but that ended up becoming their first single off that album was huge, and it was such a raw beat. It was really different than anything that they had done. So for them to pick that beat, it was kind of courageous for them. You know what I mean? It was a risk because I was still relatively new. So
when you the folks that you're working with, Emily Sunday, you just were in Detroit with them.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
incredible. And Dr. Dre, you've got this interesting history. Now, what I find is folks at that level, they want to work with people that either push them or stretch the envelope. It feels to me like you're somebody who always wants to kind of push the envelope and find other. Is that true? Is that part of your signature?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like the way I create is I don't think in terms of rules.
Yeah.
Really. I really think that.
You think in terms of no rules.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. And I think that's the main thing is just bringing something new to the table. With Dre, I can play him beats and he'll be like, man, like this is new. I haven't heard anything like this, and putting a lot of emotion in it is another thing. Like I feel like I have an emotional component to what I do, and I feel like people, artists are drawn to that.
That is actually brilliant.
And that's a huge thing. I feel like that's a big part of my success is the emotional component to my music. So.
We feel that way about the show, actually.
So that's great.
You spent a lot of time with Dre. I know this sounds like an understatement, but I don't think as a group of musicians we truly understand the importance of what Dre contributed to the process of making records. You were there, you got to be the beneficiary of getting some of that knowledge. Explain to me from your perspective Dre's importance to the world in terms of music, because you worked on Detox, a bunch of records. I don't think people know he's great, but they don't quite know why he's great. Before Dre, there was no...
Yeah. I mean, for him to take his sound and to make it pop, to make it pop is unbelievable.
Make it what?
Make it pop, which we talked about before. But I mean, and he even told me, he said, I never try to go pop. He's like, my sound ends up going pop. That's really what happens. I mean, everything that he's done, and it's still cutting edge music, but those mixes live forever. I mean, he's an incredible engineer.
Jump out at you.
You can put on California Love now. The musicality in his tracks are unbelievable. There are so many hooks. Which at the end of the day, pop music is about that hook and that chorus. He has hooks going in, and if you listen really closely, we were lucky enough, Ultimate Ears is one of our sponsors periodically, and so we get the inner ear monitors. Of course, I got the ones with amplified bass and stuff. And if you're not careful, if you don't turn down your volume and you turn them on, your head will fry. However, put on something that layered and that complex and that musical with those and turn it up, and hear how he thinks and how deep he goes. Am I right?
It's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
This is a pet peeve of mine. Tell me if I'm off the mark, because, I mean, we all know I am Mr. Hip Hop. It feels to me like, what's that?
Nothing.
It feels to me like when Dre came along, we were all addicted to the East Coast sound, which was kind of dark, kind of not a lot of top end.
Yeah.
And when I was first listening to Dre records, he's got top end. His snares have top end. He's got a little reverb. He's doing all the things that the East Coast wasn't doing. Hence, that was the West Coast new sound. But big influence to me.
One of the things I think people who are in touch with their emotions are generally in touch with inspiration, right? Because it's things that trigger you to do things. I feel very strongly about that, about the show and our live events, and they can tell you that I try to make sure, because you don't really try to, it's just who you are, and it's the experience you want to share. You have this incredible sports pedigree, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that your dad was the infamous Walt Hazzard, who changed records at UCLA, played for the Lakers, for a lot of other people. His mother, Jaleesa, is just almost an icon in LA. I know her, she's loved from stem to stern. And what I love about your story is that I can tell that what you experienced in that family kind of unit has a lot of pressure on it. There's a lot of need to perform. There's press. There's a lot of things. And people understand when you're that as a kid, you sometimes, like I had an athletic father.
Yeah, right.
And he was a pro football player in the Hall of Fame. Sometimes children feel like they need to achieve because they're around that all the time.
Right, yeah.
Like I was obsessed with, like I have to. So couple things. One is, shout out to the Lakers who employed your dad and stayed with your dad as he suffered through a stroke and stayed functional, and the Lakers stood by his side the rest of his life, didn't they?
Yes, they're the best organization in sports, period.
Ever,
period.
I watched that. It was amazing.
Yes.
They hired your brother as a scout for a while, and then he decamped and went with Derek
now.
to the Knicks.
He's with Phil and Derek Fisher,
it was inspiring to see an organization not let go of a loved one.
Yeah.
And what I loved actually was just the smile I'd see on your dad's face when I saw pictures of him.
Oh, yeah.
He was functioning what he did.
Oh, yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Take that experience, and then what was that a driving force in terms of your musicality and what you want to do with your career?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, I grew up with the pyramid of success in every room in my house.
Oh yeah.
So then that comes from John Wooden.
That's
my
right,
dad
man.
played for John Wooden. They went 30-0 in 1964. My dad was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So I went to John Wooden camp, and honestly, my dad was a point guard, and I feel like as a producer, that's a big part of what I do.
Great analogy.
It's like you're the coach or the point guard of a team. You have your musicians, your writers, your engineer,
artists,
everything. And your artists, and you have to understand the artists, what flaws they have, what their ego, all their different flaws. So it's really important just to understand like the dynamic of a team, because it takes a team to make a record. And that's like a big part of my upbringing is playing basketball, understanding like, okay, I know you can hit 3-pointers, I know you can get rebounds, I know you can hit.
You'll distribute the ball,
and
you'll land in the right spot.
Exactly, and you give them room to be who they are, and that's I feel like that's a huge component in terms of my production style, is to give people room to be themselves and to use their strengths.
Were your parents supportive of your musical efforts?
Oh, huge supporters. Huge support when I started DJing and all that. I kept the neighbors up.
Absolutely.
And they let me do my thing. I'd be up till 4 or 5 in the morning every night, just learning, just listening and learning and trying to get better at my craft.
Part of the reason I stalked you, because I've been a Laker fan like for 35 years, so I'm with them in the up years and down
Right,
years.
exactly.
I really just wanted to get beside Walt Hazzard's son and say he's a friend of mine, because I was just, the other thing about that's interesting, because now I'm sort of using basketball positions and thinking about the studio. So if the producer is a 1, the artist would be a 2. Engineer maybe a 3.
Yeah.
I played Little League foosball.
That would make you an 11.
I want to participate in this.
I don't know what the 4 and 5 would be.
Participate in this athletic metaphor here.
Right.
So now, the state of hip hop. I find it in flux a bit. And every now and then we have these breakthrough moments, and the breakthrough moments to me tend to be records that push the envelope as opposed to playing safe.
Yeah.
I also feel lyrically that there's 2 camps. You can fall back into the easy stuff and kind of pander and do that stuff. Then there's other folks who want to say something. Am I close, off? What's your perspective?
I mean, I think there's more balance now. I feel like you have Kendrick, you have J. Cole, and Big Crit. You have great artists out there that are doing making amazing music, and they're really they're not thinking in terms of I have to have a single, I have to have this major pop, whatever. They just want to have a body of work.
Right.
They look at a Jay-Z, they look at a Nas, who they have they grew into their hits. And
That's
I feel like Kendrick and all these guys understand that, like, let me grow into my hits, because we're seeing them develop from the very beginning, because it's like a YouTube generation, so we're seeing them from the beginning. Whereas, I come from before YouTube.
That's
where,
right.
You had to earn it from the music.
Yeah, right.
And you had to put out 12 inches, and maybe you could shoot a video, but
Right.
maybe your video will get some kind of play, but you didn't have a lot of outlets.
That's
We're
true.
seeing them develop from the beginning. So I feel like now they're maturing into superstars.
Big time.
And they're taking risks, and I feel like they're going away from what's any tradition that's happening in terms of music business.
I mean, Kendrick's record I could play for parents.
Yeah.
And DJ Ali's a good friend of ours, and he had me over to his studio and played it, and I was just astounded how authentic it was to the art form. There was no difference. He was committed to that style of music.
Absolutely.
And completely did it, and it felt just breakthrough just on listening. So I did what you did. I didn't have to measure it by its commerciality.
Yeah,
It just was dope or not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's what most artists, they need to understand, that it's really about your body of work, and you'll get your hit out of that. And I feel like Jay-Z didn't have his own #1 until Empire State of Mind. That was like his first #1, like for him, So I feel like growing into your hits is a big part of it, in my opinion.
How important is mentoring to you? Is that part of?
It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents did it. They both had nonprofits. My mom had Yes to Jobs. I mean, that's where I had my first internship.
Infamous program.
Yes.
Tied to A&M.
Yes.
I would see it every summer.
Yeah.
No question.
It was huge, and I got to listen to. I mean, I heard about you through Yes to Jobs.
Was it good?
It was great.
Oh,
it was all good.
I was like, oh,
but
geez,
that was a big part of my experience in the music business, is to understanding that there were actually other jobs other than being a doctor or an attorney. Like, you could actually have a career in publicity or marketing, records. So that was a big part. And my dad ran Sports Academy and Young Black Scholars before that. So my dad mentored tons of not just players, but students, and helping them get into college and to pursue their education. So.
An important consideration for our folks out there: you don't have to be successful to mentor. You just don't. What you have to do is just mentor. You have to care. And when you pay it forward like that, it comes back to you in loads, don't you think?
100%.
I was talking to, education has become a big part of our thing, and I know it's an important thing to you, and we'll be dragging you into our educational stuff, just understand that. And I was telling a friend of ours, our board member who oversees education, he's a big education guy, Virgil Roberts, who your mother knows. And I said, it feels amazing to give back. I never knew how it felt till I actually did it, and did it with some scale. So I'm just telling you guys that not only is it good for you spiritually and for your soul, it actually makes your career bigger.
Yeah.
And it makes your craft better. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I work with kids. I work with the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz, and they ran a program called From Hip Hop to Bebop, and they work out of Washington Prep High School, and so I taught kids there. They had Pepsi donated a bunch of equipment. They had computers donated, all kinds of software. So I helped. They had assignments, and at the end of the whole program, they would do a whole concert with Herbie and all these other incredible musicians. So,
nice.
so I'm a big advocate for helping, and mentoring kids.
So you have your career where it is now. What do you wish for? Is there places you want to expand to that you're not at yet? Are you doing everything you want?
Yeah, I mean, it's really at this point, I want to continue. I mean, I want to develop talent. That's really the main thing.
Okay.
I want to develop talent. And I have a group, the New Royales, that I've been developing with my partner Chin for years, and we're about to start putting out records. We've been a writing team. We wrote a lot of stuff for Eminem on Recovery, and Marshall Mathers LP, and other songs. We've had songs licensed for TV and film and trailers and everything. So now we built our catalog over the years. So now we're ready to launch that. And then I'm developing another artist named Sid Sriram, and he's an incredible singer from the Bay Area.
Oh, really?
Amazing singer, and he sings Indian classical music, but he also does a kind of hybrid style of R&B, folk, everything. It's pretty much, it's not, this, I can't really define it.
Oh, I want to hear it.
And I'm really excited about working with him. And you know, and just finding new talent. You know, if you play a great instrument, you know, just working on projects and putting them out. That's like the main thing.
We're doing an ITL really shortly between a producer from India, who does a hybrid thing between the Indian stuff, the Bollywood stuff, and American gospel. And he lives both. And we're going to do an ITL. We should talk about that off camera and just see what that could be really interesting. Yeah. You know, oftentimes I think when we have the mentoring thing, I'm going back to that, because I found that, or Dave has said, he gets so inspired by the people who sit to my left each week that it informs your mixing, correct?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Who do you use to mix? Do you do it yourself?
Different people. For Aloe's album, Neil Pogue, and Neil was just amazing to work with, and
shout out to Cherokee, his wife, who was signed to my label.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Neil was incredible. Steve B, Jason Joshua.
You know, all three of those assisted me.
Really?
I used to hate. Ask Steve. I used to hate Rhodes. I don't know why I hated Rhodes. So every time I got a Rhodes, this was back in the '90s. I'd say, Steve, just do this, and I would just leave. And I'd come back, and it was amazing. Now I like Rhodes, but back then I was a little weird.
Yeah.
Of course, Jason
Schweitzer is another one. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody, but
Jason
Joshua. I mentioned him. He worked on the Aloe stuff. So you know, a lot of different people. I used Tony Maserati. Worked with him on with Pink, which was amazing. And that was an amazing experience. Learning from him. So I just love sitting in sessions and learning from these guys.
A new guy. I'll give you the card afterward. There's a guy just came into town. His name's Dave Pensado. I'll give you his card.
I would love to work with him.
Just check him out.
Sounds great.
Just check him out. Just in case.
I'm not available.
John Gore, let's go over to you and see. I think you have some questions over there. What you got?
We've got a lot of questions today.
Yeah.
This first one's from Jonathan Byers. Khalil, I've been writing tracks and making beats for 8 years, and I've had no success. When is it time to give it up, and how long is too long?
If you love it, you'll never hang it up. You know, that's how I look at it. I mean, if you love it, you're gonna do it whether you're getting paid or not. You know, so I mean, it took me a long time. I mean, I had to start my own label with Chase and another friend of ours, and we put out our own records, and that's really how I got a reputation as a producer, even on the underground circuit. You know what I mean? And people started paying me for me. I didn't even know I could make money producing records. I had no idea. You know, I just loved doing it. I wanted to be like DJ Premier or Pete Rock, or Large Professor. You know, I wanted to be like all those guys. So I feel like if you love it, you won't hang it up. You know, that's how I look at it.
I got you.
Should some people hang it up though? I mean, not everybody can be a great producer. How do you know when you've created something that millions of people want? How do you know? Because all the producers I've met think everything is amazing,
right?
And it's not. But some of them are. How do you get that? Are you born?
I mean,
with it?
it's you know, I think I don't know if it's something you're born with, but I just loved it. Like I started off DJing, and I feel like my DJ ear defined my producing ear, and I feel like most of my heroes started off as DJs. That was the main thing. So I knew that's a standard. They set the standard. So I know if I can make something, I'm shooting for them. I'm like, how can I make something as potent as what they're doing?
Yeah.
You know, and pretty soon I feel like you imitate the greats until you become a great.
Oh, I completely agree.
You know, and I think
that's deep. That's deep.
And I feel like most people don't. They look at it as like, oh, well, I should just give it up. Or if you love it that much, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. You know, you just have to know what good. You have to have taste. We talked about taste, but you have to study the greats in order to be great, and that's really my thing.
You know what else too? I think that you have to put yourself in positions to be able to receive the knowledge you need. Like you were informed as a DJ, not only in terms of what you might do in sounds, but also what moved a crowd and what made things happen. And then you can go do that. Too many times we talk to people who may have the tools, who may have the passion, but they don't understand that they got to go out and just get hit in the face and learn the difference between what works and doesn't work and so on and so forth. We felt that same way about, this. We weren't broadcasters. We were like, boom, we'll just fall up and see what happens. So I think for our crew and our crowd, be an activist, right?
Yes.
Be engaged. And also the other thing I hate, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but don't stay in a box.
Yeah.
Get outside your box and bring that back to your box.
Yes.
Because then you're going to end up with a signature in your box,
Yeah.
right? If you're just copying people,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you're not going anyplace, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you may even have some success, but you'll never break through and become great. And I don't think you want to waste your time. I think you go for it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is that how you feel?
absolutely.
But that's also sort of athletic, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to learn. You have to know the fundamentals. You have to know all these different
Get your
things
feet
going
worked
into.
down.
Yeah. And you have to go out and compete, and then that tells you how good you are. You know what I mean? You meet up with another point guard who's just as good as you, you know, and he might torch you one game, but that helps you to figure out, okay, I have to get better.
Harden and Steph.
Yeah. So that's
right.
I feel like that's the main thing. You have to put your music out there to see, okay, it's not really working. Okay, what do I have to do to improve? And you make those improvements.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I before Greg, I had another manager, and you know, and I was competing against his producers, and he would throw me in the studio, and I would see Kanye and Just Blaze and all these other guys working before they were huge. I mean, they already had classics, but
Right.
you know, you're competing against them. So you have to, once you see how they're operating and you're like, okay, how am I going to compete with that? I have to get better. I have to work harder. And that's really what it comes down to.
For DJ Khalil, is there stuff outside of hip hop that you produce or want to produce? It seemed like there would be.
Yeah.
Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand. Yeah. I mean, you know, rock,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, pretty much, you know, anything. I mean, I'm electronic music. You know, I would love to
awesome
do.
at EDM.
I was, you know, but just more than just EDM, just I mean, stuff that's song based, but with electronic elements. You know, an instrumental album. I would love to work with. An incredible, you know, like a Stephon Harris or you know what I mean, people that I would love to produce a jazz album. I would, you know, so I don't feel like there's any limit to it. I just have to be passionate about it. Right now, like what I listen to a lot is a lot of jazz fusion. I've gone back to jazz fusion, and I've listened to tons of that, from Return to Forever to Gilgamesh. You know what I mean? A lot of Alan Goen and Hugh Hopper and Soft Machine. Like I'm back in all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just really where my passion just takes me. You know, I'm into that.
I'm coming to your studio. Give us another one, Chongor. You got one more over there for us?
Yep.
Let's take a look.
This next one's from Justin Moore. Just like yourself, there are so many producers who are also artists. How does being an artist affect you as a producer? It seems to be hard to be an artist when you're a good producer.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, when you're an artist and you're a producer, I feel like some artists, they need to be produced. I mean, really. I mean, when you wear both hats, I feel like it's really, it's hard to be objective. Exactly. You're so married to what you're doing. Sometimes you need that outside influence just to guide you the right way. And I feel like most artists that are producers kind of lose sight of like, okay, you know, I'm going down this rabbit hole, you know, should I keep going?
Right.
And have somebody pull you back like, no, I don't think this is really where you need to go, or you're missing this element from your music. It's having another opinion there.
That's a good point. Okay, sports boy, we have a sports segment in our show.
Oh, do we have it?
It's called Batter's Box. So we expect an exemplary kind of Game 7 performance from you, and it's 3-3. So you've got to bring it home.
All right.
So Dave, is your arm warm? You ready to roll?
I don't need to. I'm gonna win this one.
Okay.
I got it.
Why don't I just get out of the way? Batter
I
up.
set him up. I tricked him.
Welcome to Batter's Box.
Okay. Snares or claps?
Snares.
Reverb.
Reverb. I love the Ableton, the reverb they have in there is incredible.
Oh, he's good. Curveball coming.
Yeah.
First gear you bought that you still have?
A Casio. I have a Casio keyboard.
101? CZ 101?
I think I can't even remember. It's white,
Yeah.
And it has the 2 buttons. I can't remember the model number, but it's the first keyboard actually that my parents bought me. I still have it. I use it on recordings and everything.
Excuse me, judges, does that qualify if you can't say the name and model?
You get a half a point.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Loops.
Loops.
That's a good one. Here.
Loops. I mean, I love prog rock. I love drum loops. But I love prog rock loops. Like that's where I kind of started.
Synthesizers.
Yamaha, anything Yamaha, I'm into.
808s.
808s. 808s. Just what comes to mind.
Still relevant?
I don't know, like
Relevant?
definitely relevant. I will always be relevant in music. It's just the low end now. You can't replace it. So 808 is just low end, but it just reminds me of early hip hop. It reminds me of like Rick Rubin and early LL and all that stuff.
Favorite gear under $200?
My favorite is and I bought it under $200, but it's a Digitech Talker, and it's a vocoder. It's a pedal. And you can run synthesizers or guitars through it, and you run a mic, and you can do and it's incredible.
We're done. Is there a record that you've used it on that I might know?
Roger Troutman used to do that.
He I don't know if he used that one, but it sounds amazing. What did I use it on? I've used it on a bunch of stuff, just layered. Like it'll just be layered in like samples that I make. Trying to think of one. I can't think of one off top.
That was a good one. I'll take that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that piece of gear.
So the 808, we're done. But the 808, that'll never go out of style, I guess. Huh?
I don't think so. It's
the most widely known drum sound on earth.
Yeah.
Like rockers, you go 808, they know what it is. Children, 808, they know it. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's just the space that it fills. There's nothing else that fills that space, really.
Same way.
Unless you have a sine wave, like a low end sine wave or something.
It's also genre defining, and not just that. If you want to make the listener feel like there's a little extra power in your mix, you can slide that up under the kick, and all of a sudden you've got credibility and power.
Right, that's true.
How many things do that for us? What a cool thing.
Can I use an 808 in negotiations?
Yeah,
Get some credibility and power. Question for you. We are trying to be expansive in our outreach and run around and encourage people to get educated. Is education important for folks?
Yes, it's huge. I went to college. I went to Morehouse College.
Oh, nice.
In Atlanta. Went for 4 years, graduated, and I mean that led me to my first job. I worked at Access Hollywood. I was a music coordinator. And that's where I learned about licensing, TV and film, how editors like to cut to music, all that stuff, which kind of led me into where I'm at now, where I've done stuff in TV shows and trailers and end titles and all that stuff.
Plus, education is never over.
No.
Aren't you always?
You're always learning.
I think you have to be curious all the time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm starting over all the time. Like I feel like I haven't done anything, and I'm starting from scratch because technology, music, the music business is changing all the time.
Absolutely.
And you have to be educated about what's
and I
going
also
on.
think, we say this all the time, we're also, in my opinion, in digital media. We're in the music business, but we're publishing things to YouTube, we're doing things, editing is important, video is important, how you capture content is important, how you speak to people is important. Yeah. And that's a broader thing, correct?
It's huge, yeah, it's huge.
So
you have to be able to communicate for sure.
In our outreach, we often want to bring people that we admire and respect and see if they have the time to share with our audience when we travel and go and do things. Can I hit your manager up and see if you join us on something?
Absolutely.
Because you would be great for people to learn and to meet and so on and so forth.
I would love it.
I'll hold you to it.
I'm there.
You also have to come back. This will not be your only visit.
I want to come back.
Please, we got a lot more to talk about. Man.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Hug your mom for me.
I
Kiss
will.
her right here on both cheeks. I love when I see her. She is just a bright light. Love your success. Love the family pedigree. Not because it had to do with fame, just because it was so tight-knit and so family-oriented.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
So join us. You can see it below. Go to pensadosplace.tv, hit the recall tab. We got another couple minutes of exclusive discussion with our man, DJ Khalil. We'll see you there. Dave, take us home, buddy.
Whew, that's a tough one. One of the things that I notice when I talk to people like Khalil, their passion exceeds anything. So in other words, he doesn't just wake up in the morning and just say, what am I going to do today? Oh, I think I'll do a record. He can't help but wake up in the morning and do a record. It's his life. It's his lifestyle. And that's one of the keys to success. Find that lane that occupies this. I'm mixing about 100 metaphors here, but find that thing in you that gives you that feeling, and then pursue that with everything you got, and you'll end up like this cat to my left. Both these cats to my left. Next week.
See y'all.